Hello, everybody. This is Exploring Energy in Everyday Life with myself, Rebecca Karchere. I'm a medical intuitive, nutritionist, and healer. And my co-host,
Mary Von Ohlen, holistic recovery coach and healer.
And we're going to talk about some seasonal hacks, some seasonal tidbits that'll get your brain thinking and feeling. Yes.
A little bit like we talked about last time when we talked about health hacks for the spring. It's kind of an extension of that, primarily talking about capitalizing on the natural power of the earth.
Yeah. So the body is about 8 hertz, give or take, right? Would you say? Maybe.
Well, different parts of the body resonate at different frequencies, right? Okay. But in general, our brain waves, right, and our brain kind of dictates the rest. Our brain waves are in the low kind of frequency range, and the most healing ones are the ones that we go through when we're meditating or when we're really calm and focused, are in the alpha and theta state, and those correspond with the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, yes. So the Earth actually, there are scientists every single day actually measuring what they call the Schumann resonance, but there's different energy fields associated with the Earth and the atmosphere, and the Earth's magnetic field resonates in the same realm of hertz, in the same range, frequency range, as our brain waves, as our most healthy, calm, focused, spiritually connected brain waves.
So I don't know. I hate it. Don't be offended if you live in Manhattan, but how could you live there? I need trees.
Hopefully you spend a lot of time in Central Park and barefoot, and we'll tell you why.
Maybe it's just, I love Manhattan, but it's too much. So like I live in the woods, I live on a dirt road. I have to, be in a quiet space. And I think it's for this scientific reason, Mary.
Absolutely. In Chinese medicine, or there's 5-element theory, and that if you find out all of us tend towards one or two of the types, if you will, earth, water, fire, wood, air, and there's a reason why some people are more drawn to live near the water, some in the woods, some need a little bit of both, etc. So it would be really interesting if someone could do research on what are the types and who are the type of people that live in a city versus in the country, and what's that all about?
Yeah, that'd be fun. Fun. So we want to talk about, if you are feeling out of sync, we would say go out, we're suggesting go out in nature, right? Go walk in, especially barefoot outside, to get it's like you're getting synced, get your vibration back into balance and back into harmony. There's even in TBM, there was someone that was teaching to help the heart. Actually, the heart is actually out of sync. There's a certain correction, and I think he called it like heart vibration or something. And it was like getting the heart back in sync with the Earth's energy. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, yeah, and I believe that in Chinese medicine, it's like the kidneys, the organ system of the kidneys, not just the kidneys themselves. So if you're just tuning in, you have no idea what we're talking about. In Chinese medicine, and in terms of our energetic body, we have organs that you're aware of, but those organs also have a whole meridian and whole channel of energy that flows and different functions associated with the organs and that whole organ system. So when we're talking about kidneys, we don't just mean the kidneys, but we mean also the kidney meridian, the channel where this energy flows and has different functions. So the kidneys, for example, in Chinese medicine, from an emotional standpoint, one of their functions is helping process fear and terror. Okay, and so anyway, along those lines, one of the other functions, energetic functions of the kidney, is they form the backup to the heart. Okay, so they're kind of like, I've heard it explained, they're kind of like our body's battery, So literally recharging your batteries, going out in nature recharges your batteries, especially if you walk barefoot.
Yeah.
Okay, like on the beach or in the grass, direct contact with the earth, barefoot. Why? Well, the kidney meridian, okay, the channel of energy that flows through our body that deals with kidney energy. Kidney 1, the point in acupuncture from Chinese medicine, is right on the sole of the feet. So it's right on your bottom of your foot, and it's there for a reason. I mean, that's right where the energy starts, and it's meant to. We're literally designed to resonate with, to connect with, and harmonize from the energy of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So charge your batteries by walking on the beach. You don't just feel great because of the fresh air and the sunshine. That's good for you too. But the biggest thing, I think, is just, and also just receiving those free electrons. Like literally you're getting charged up with electrons from the earth.
Mm-hmm. I like the way I heard this described is that when you're going into Mother Nature, that it is all only giving you energy. It doesn't take. It's just constantly giving you energy. So if someone feels depleted, if you're working yourself, and you have nothing left, you go out in nature, it's only going to give to you. And I thought that was an awesome, point, if you're like this chronic giver.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a client once who was like, we had to get a little bit creative with a guided meditation because she was having trouble with a lot of the times. I found a great meditation is picturing yourself, if you can't be there physically, picturing yourself at the beach, right? And standing barefoot right at water's edge. And I think I learned this from my our colleague John Mercedes many years ago, and a beautiful meditation. And just to imagine, like you're releasing all the negative energy, the negative thoughts, the fears, the negative emotions out to the ocean, and then you're drawing in all the good energy. And I had a client who was so, like you talked about, such a caretaker. So her concern was like, I don't want to send my negative energy to the earth because she loved the earth. It's like I was like, well. The reason that visualization, I believe, though it was explained to me years ago, was at the ocean is, we hear this term like ions. It's like there's all this extra, energy that's at the beach that's able to receive and diffuse the negative energy. So you're not hurting, it's not like pollution. It's not like littering the earth or pouring toxic chemicals into the ground. When you're doing these kind of things, like you said, it's like the earth's only going to give to you, and it can help diffuse any kind of negative energy that you've been hanging on to safely. You don't have to feel guilty.
Thank you, Mary, because I was feeling guilty. Yeah.
Powerful, but not that powerful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know when you really start talking to people, it's you realize that, oh, why was I thinking that? That's a great example of you feeling bad. No. It's liberating when you realize stuff like that. Yeah. So just quickly too, we're talking about getting kind of reset in nature. One thing that we have done a terrible job of is staying in nature with all, I'm getting more into the technology and the lights and we're out of sync with the sunlight. We're getting up with all these lights. We're going to sleep with lights. That can throw off your hormones, your circadian rhythm, and that could make you feel all sorts of things. And so I'm gonna recommend, if that sounds like you, here's a couple of tips: is don't have cell phones near you while you're sleeping. Have a pitch black room when you're sleeping. Really work on anything that's distracting you and have it pitch black. And then the other thing too is that we want to implement in my family like a blackout night where we don't have the TV on, we don't have the lights on, we just have some candlelight atmosphere. And we did that once because we were doing some electrical work, but let me tell you, I said, oh, we need to do this again. This was like deliberately shut all the electronics off. It made a big difference in the house. And the way I felt, it was like, oh, it was like a spa. Really, it felt like a spa, but not having all these lights on.
Yeah, like a mini digital detox.
Yeah, it felt so good. But so we have the third eye. Well, it's not literally right here, but this is where it is energetically. It secretes melatonin, which is a hormone that is supposed to be secreted when we're sleeping. And if you're someone who is up at night, and that means that your circadian rhythm is off. One thing I want to now touch upon, this guy that I came across, his name is Jack Cruz. I found him on Gaia, the TV network. And he is a neurosurgeon. And what he did was, he was a very overweight man. And through, long story short, he calls this a hack. He studied the energy and came to the conclusion that if he got up, whatever time of morning it was, if he got up and looked at the sun directly, now this is proven, he teaches this is not crazy, although it sounds crazy. Take off your glasses, make sure you have nothing, and you stare at the sun. Literally, he says to do this. Now, he says to do this for weight loss, but I know too, you're resetting the pineal gland. He calls it, you're resetting the atomic clock, which is in your head. So you're making that connection. And then you do that every day for 6 weeks, and that helps to change your metabolism. That helps with food cravings. But he also said that the second thing that you want to do is, after you look at the sun, within 30 minutes of being awake, you eat a big protein meal. Anyway, you got to watch this show. You got to watch him, because the man lost he lost over 100 pounds, like ton of weight. Did not change his caloric intake. In fact, increased it. Did not do exercise. All he did was stare at the sun. I know it sounds crazy. And ate a big protein meal. And I'll tell you the second part of what he did. I know this has nothing to do with this program right now, but it sounds so interesting. He submerged himself in ice. And he lost weight by that cold temperature. And he's explained that it increased the magnetism of the mitochondria in the cells. And he lost 5 pounds, like, in hours. I know. So anyway, check him out, people. He's very interesting.
Yeah. And and in kind of spiritual circles online and holistic circles, you may have heard of this concept of sun gazing. I think they call it, or sun staring. I think that, like, cultures a long, long time ago did it, but again, it sounds like this guy knows more about it. But I remember when I first learned about it, and what was suggested when I first heard about it is, starting gradually, and gradually increasing your direct exposure, staring at the sun, but starting late in the day when the sun is really low, like just when it's setting, because it's not as strong, and then you can kind of build up your tolerance to it. But it's an interesting concept. So yeah, look into that.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it's resetting that clock. And when we are inundated with lights and EMF waves, we lose our sync with the earth. So that's the whole point of our show, is to get back to nature, get back into that rhythm, that natural rhythm. Speaking of which, we want to talk about jet lag.
Yes. And just before we go into jet lag, I wanted to say too that it's really hard to lose weight. So if you're trying to lose weight, it's really hard to lose weight when you can't sleep well. And so I think that's a big piece of it, is what you talked about. It's like when you're not getting that deep sleep, when your pituitary gland is off, and your third eye is off, and things are out of balance, and you're not getting enough sleep, that for a whole cascade of circumstances, biochemically too, you're not able to. It's really hard for the body to lose weight when you're under a lot of stress and you're not dealing with your stress well. Also very hard to lose weight. So just throwing that out there, because it is the season that people start saying, oh gosh, I didn't lose weight, and now it's swimsuit season. And these are components that sometimes people don't even consider. You could go crazy at the gym and change your diet, but if you're not sleeping well and you're emotionally stressed, you might find that you're really not able to reach any of those goals. Yeah.
Yes, and just from my biochemistry, we lose weight, we lose fat when we're sleeping, specifically when we're sleeping. So because that's when we're starving, and we have hormones set into place to mobilize fat while we're sleeping. Why? Because we're not eating and we need to stay alive. So you want to maximize that mechanism. So yeah.
Unplug your Wi-Fi at night. And if you're old school and you have a home line, one of the worst offenders, my understanding is the cordless phones, you know, like your little cordless phone, what do they call that? Like the unit, the station where it sends the signal to the phone is really bad too. So all these different things also remind me of Dr. Steven Sinatra, who's a well-known cardiologist, and he studied a lot of and promotes this concept of what we were talking about before, connecting to the Earth's electromagnetic field barefoot. And it's called earthing or grounding.
Yeah.
You're getting grounded, you're connecting to the ground, or you're connecting to the earth. So it's not a new concept, it's out there. But he got heavily involved in it. Really interesting. I heard a lecture or him interviewed once, talking, I think by Designs for Health actually, and he was talking about his whole process where his son had all sorts of health problems, and turned out his son was just highly sensitive to electromagnetic type of stresses, you know, EMFs, the bad EMFs, and needed to really be in an environment, disconnect from all the Wi-Fi, live somewhere where he doesn't have all that, you know, all that type of exposure, and do a lot of earthing and grounding and you know, energy healing to stay in balance. So some people are more sensitive to it, but it's like, you might not be someone who can literally feel. I have friends, and I've even experienced sometimes, who can feel when they're close to like a Wi-Fi source, or, you know, even just being on their phone too much, they can sense what it's doing to their system. Mm-hmm. But even if you're not one of those highly sensitive people, it's affecting all of us. You know, the highly sensitive people are just the ones that are alerting us to this issue that we might not otherwise realize.
Mm-hmm. I want to point personally, I think that if you are one of those highly sensitive people to electromagnetic frequencies, you may want to look at your fat intake of omega-3 fatty acids, the EPA and DHA. They actually act as an insulator and to protect your energy. It's part of the environmental lubrication protocol and contact reflex analysis. So I feel that that's critical. You know, eating fish and the fish oil and flaxseed oil, all of that, I think will be helpful.
That's very cool. That's a really cool tip, because I've read a lot of books on highly sensitive people once I learned about it and realized that most of my clients were HSPs. Yeah. That's not something that I've come across frequently in the literature. So that's a really cool tip. So if you're an HSP, check that out. You know?
Yeah, and that guy, Jack Cruz, that I just mentioned, he was stressing DHA. He says that's the be-all, end-all, and he explains why. So
cool.
I hope you watch him. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I jumped over before, but you prompted me to talk about jet lag. So here's the thing about jet lag, right? So if we are designed to connect to the earth, not only are we disconnecting from it all the time, you know, or it's being interfered with all these invisible waves that are affecting us, these bad EMFs we were just talking about. Mm-hmm. And also we've got the types of shoes that we wear, you know, block us from receiving it. Think about it, right? Like we wear things with like rubber soles and soles that might be good if you get struck by you know, by lightning, but they're not good for, you know, the energy that you do want to receive. By the way, lightning is really fascinating. I forget how many times lightning strikes. It's some ridiculous amount, like, you know, 7,000 times a minute or something across the earth. I just made that number up, so don't quote that. Something like that. And we need lightning, because what lightning is doing is it's actually helping to maintain the electrical charge of the earth, which we need for the whole balance, the whole system. So it's pretty cool, right? So with jet lag, not only are we supposed to, or it's normal for us to feel kind of crummy after flying on a plane, because it's not just about, you know, being trapped without the windows open and that awful recirculating air with everybody's, you know, stuff floating around. But it's also, you know, I mean, we came up with planes and man invented planes, and that's great, but it's not very natural for our bodies to be, you know, miles up in the air away from the Earth's electromagnetic field. So what happens is that throws us, you know, out of harmony. So when you feel cruddy, when you land somewhere, first thing you should do as soon as you can is get somewhere, take your shoes off, and spend a few minutes walking barefoot in the grass or the beach or whatever, and literally ground yourself. And that will really help. That's actually something that can help you with the symptoms of jet lag.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then I was just TBM teaches a hack for jet lag too. If you you want to do this when, all right, so let's say it's evening and you are wide awake. You don't want to do this trick. You want to do this trick when you want to stay awake. You tap on the spleen 21, which is on the sides of, the rib cage, in EFT, we tap on that all the time, right? And then, so you tap on that, and then you pull your ears all the way around. He explains that your earlobe acts as an antenna. So you tap on spleen 21, and then you pull all the way around the whole earlobe if you want to stay awake, and that'll help to reset your energy. So you do that when you first wake up in the morning if you're, if you got jet lag.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Yeah.
That's a fun one. And then if you are a muscle tester, or, what I do is, if you want to access the electromagnetic system, it's the palm, the back of the hand on the top of the head. And then you can get the, get a gauge for what's going on. So if you're not sure.
Palm up and the back of your hand on top of the head? Yeah,
the back of the hand is on the top. Yeah. And then you can muscle test and be like, gee, how's my electromagnetic system? And then you can get a read, and then, go from there. So that's my little hack and trick for today.
I'm going to play with that one. If you don't know how to muscle test and self-test, whether you're a practitioner or just a, layperson individual, Rebecca teaches how to do that. She taught me years ago, and I use it all the time, and it's phenomenal. So she's teaching that at a seminar coming up, and she also has an online course. So we'll put the links in the video below. Yeah, source energy technique incorporates muscle testing. It's awesome.
Thank you. We need to be empowered.
That's right. One other thing on this topic that came to mind is, and I know you love to garden, Rebecca. I don't have a garden where I live that I can tend to, but my neighbors do, and I appreciate it. Gardening is also a great way to connect to the earth. And, while you're probably not barefoot in the soil, great if you are, but usually gardeners, hopefully you're barefoot with your barehanded and not using gloves whenever possible, and literally digging in the dirt and having your hands in the dirt is a great way to connect to the earth. And while your kidney 1 point isn't there, there's other essential meridians that run through the hands. Many meridians run through the hands, and there's some end points, meridian points in the hands, and another kind of key one that's almost similar to kidney 1 but different, right in the palm of the hand as well. So it's another way to resonate with the earth's energy and get back into balance. That's why people feel so good gardening. Again, it's not just about the sun and the air. And again, it would be interesting research to see the type of people that are drawn particularly to gardening, connecting to the earth's energy in terms of those types I was talking about with 5-element theory. And one last thing comes to mind with that. The last video that we just recorded was about liver health. What's interesting about 5-element theory that I've been doing some reading on is that, again, with those types, you might resonate as a certain type of type. And for me, I tend towards the wood type, which isn't surprising because that is something, working in the addiction recovery field. I'm in recovery, and wood types, I think, are more prone to anger and alcohol, the type of things that we talked in the other video. So we'll link to the other video in this video too, because it's really pretty interesting how there's some interplay here. And that as wood types, we actually will get rejuvenated in the woods too. Like, I love to be in the woods. And also as a wood type, you also might be drawn towards the water, because water kind of feeds wood, right? Just like rain helps, feed the earth. And so anyway, there's all these different connections in terms of the elements, not just the earth element itself. And it's pretty interesting to find out which ones you resonate with and why.
I'm probably a wood. I'm probably wood. You'll have to let me know.
Or a combination.
Because I get lost at the beach. I just want to stay at the beach. And same thing with the garden. And I have a bunch. It's funny. I have a bunch of patients who have missed their appointments or have been late for their appointments. And, I'm sorry, I was gardening. I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay. I understand. You lose track of time. You're one with the earth. It's like nothing else matters.
Yeah. Hold on. I'll reference a book. I just saw I have it out. So
okay.
There's a book called The 5 Elements of Self-Healing. Okay.
Oh, nice.
We can link to it below. But what's
Yeah.
cool about this is you can actually read, and they give you some different, like a little self-test, like all these questions in the beginning, and to check off and see which type or types, you are more prone to being. And then based on that, then you have a better, it's just another thing. You know me, I love expanding our awareness. So if there's something that you can learn about that gives you different insight into your particular energetic and psychological and emotional makeup, then once you know that, there's certain tips and tricks. So they'll give like dietary supplements, even just different types of exercise, different types of environments might be more beneficial for you based on what type you kind of resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
So just another cool resource we like to share.
Yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope you've been enlightened. I
think we're taking a little break too, right?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So we're taking a little break in our show. It's always important to break.
Yes.
And to have balance. So we are leading by example.
That's right.
Be sure to have subscribed to Rebecca's channel and mine as we share this show, and we kind of go back and forth, a couple episodes on Rebecca's, a couple on mine, and that way you should be alerted when we have a fresh episode of this show or any of the individual or future collaborations.
Thank you for watching. So we'll see you in a few weeks. We don't know, right? We're taking a break.
We'll see you soon. Be well.
Be well.